Hello, it's Wednesday and it's time for yet another live Q&A with questions around healing and transforming fatigue, chronic fatigue, post-COVID, burnout, and any kind of fatigue where you feel like you're so tired, it doesn't matter what you do, you're still completely exhausted. So I'd love to know how you're doing right now. If you were sitting with me in front of you and I asked you that question, I invite you to check in with yourself and just see, how are you right now? Sometimes I think one of the most important things that we can do is to do just that. Check in with ourselves and see, how am I doing right now? And if you hear that noise in the background, I don't know if you heard that. I have carpenters at home right now. That's why I'm sitting in a different place, and I hope the noise won't be disturbing for you. And if it is, I'm sorry about that. So wherever you're at, I want you to know that it's okay to be there. It's okay to be exactly where you're at. It might not feel that way. I know that. And that's something different. And so today's question is, I'm completely lost. I don't know what to do. And this is something that is quite common at times when you're struggling with a condition like severe fatigue and you feel that there are no solutions. You turn to the healthcare system, and most of what they can offer is either medication for any kind of specific conditions like heart palpitations, or if you have thyroid issues or anything like that, and something called pacing, which is supporting you to find the kind of activity that works for you. So you don't overexert yourself, so you have backlashes, but you also do things that support holding alive the capacity that you have. So if you are experiencing this, and I would love to turn to you that asked me this question, I am completely lost and I don't know what to do. I invite you to start by just taking some deep breaths. And why do this? I'm going to tell you in just a bit. Just breathe with me for a moment. So breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. And in through your nose and out through your mouth. And keep doing that. In through your nose and out through your mouth. So this is a very slow breath where the in breath is a little shorter than the out breath. And what this does is it calms down your nervous system. And so why is that important as an answer to this question? I'm completely lost. I don't know what to do. Because if this question is something that is alive for you, you're probably in a state where your nervous system is stressed. You're in that state of fight, flight, probably flight, because there is that sense of panic sometimes, like, is my life going to be like this for the rest of my life? And that's a very challenging thought to live with when you have this condition. So this kind of breathing slows down the nervous system and supports you to get into a stage where the nervous system is calmer, and a place where you can access the part of your brain that is able to think constructively, that is able to solve problems. Instead of the part of the brain when you're in fight or flight, where you're feeling that stressed out, that panic, that part of the brain is just concerned with survival. It is the prefrontal cortex that is responsible for our survival. And thank goodness we have that, because otherwise we wouldn't be on this planet. And it is a great thing to have if you are in situations that are life-threatening. Like, for instance, if you're in a dark alley and you're about to get mugged, it is a really good thing to activate that fight or flight system and either fight the guy or the girl. Maybe not if they have a knife or a gun, or run away or scream or do something to get yourself out of that situation. But how often are we in those kind of situations? In our modern lives, most of us aren't. If you're in an abusive relationship, maybe you are in those kind of situations. And if you are in a situation like that, where you are experiencing abuse from your partner, I feel you. And my advice is to talk to someone about this. There are so many organizations that support mostly women, because it's mostly women that are in these kind of relationships, but there are men that are in abusive relationships as well. And I know that is not an easy situation, and I'm not going to go in too deep into that. But what I wanted to say is that there are certain situations in our lives where it is appropriate and where it is really important for us to have that fight and flight response to keep us alive. And another part of that is the freeze response. And the freeze response is about that panic, where you sit there, you don't know what to do, and your mind just goes blank. And the purpose of that is, it comes from, if we look at animals that play dead, that is a survival mechanism, and that often works for them. If they play dead, the predator might think, oh, this animal's dead. Maybe they have a disease or something. They don't think that logically, but it's a biological reaction that they have, and they will leave it alone, and then the animal can flee from the predator. And this is a reaction that we humans have also as a way of survival. If we are in a situation that becomes too overwhelming, we shut parts of ourselves off to be able to deal with what's going on. And the trouble with all of this is that we also shut off that part of the brain that can help us to solve conflicts, can help us to solve problems in our lives. And that's why the breathing is a really, really, really good practice to use. It's simple, it's free. You can do it whenever, wherever you are, and you don't need any tools. The only thing you need is your body. And of course, your mind reminding you to use that as a tool, to use the breathing to calm down your nervous system so that you can start thinking a little bit more creatively, a little bit more maybe realistically. Because one of the things that happens also when we are in that state of fight, flight, or freeze is that we have these thoughts of like, oh my God, I'm going to die. This is never going to change. I'm never going to find any solutions. I don't know what to do. And we might become aggressive as well. We might become aggressive to our partner. We might become aggressive to our children, to people in the healthcare system. And remember, if that is the case, that is also part of that unconscious reaction to protect yourself. And if you're listening and you are a partner to someone experiencing this, and your partner is at times aggressive, gets really mad at you, know that that is their stress response, that it's not about you. And this is something that I've experienced. When I was fatigued, there were many times where I felt like I don't know what to do. And I need to do something. And I would get mad at my husband because he didn't understand. And I didn't have the patience I wanted to have with my kids. And it was extremely challenging. And I find this in my clients as well. It's like your ability to be tolerant to things is so small. Anything will set you off, right? And that's a very challenging place to be at. And so what to do? Again, the breathing. The breathing is not the only thing that you can do. I have a PDF of different kinds of resources that you can use, and it's free. And you can find it in the link in my bio and download it for free. And check that out and see if you find something else that appeals to you more. So that is number one. If you're in that state, you're experiencing this, I'm completely lost, I don't know what to do. The first thing you need to do is to help your nervous system calm down. Because we're not going to solve anything from that state of panic, that state of like super stressed out, that state where we think, I need to do something because on some plane I feel like I might die. I mean, that is what's going on unconsciously. Okay. And the other part I want to talk about also, because the other part of this question was, I'm completely lost, I don't know what to do. And the I don't know what to do thing. I don't think there is anyone else that can tell you what to do. I don't think there is anyone in the healthcare system, a therapist, psychotherapist, whatever, who can tell you, do this and you'll be fine. We can offer you practices, we can offer you suggestions, but in the long run, you have to listen to yourself. You have to connect to your inner wisdom, because that is where you will find the answers to that question. I don't know what to do. Okay, so it's not a question, but it can be asked as a question. What do I do, right? And practicing your intuition is not something that we're taught as children growing up, most of us, right? There are a few people that probably have parents that have taught them to listen to what their body's telling them, listen to their gut feeling and all of that. But most of us haven't. And I see listening to your intuition like learning a new language. And our intuition, I know that different people will have different definitions to what intuition is, right? The way I see it is that it is a way to connect to that part of us that is the wisest part of ourselves. Whether you call it like that gut feeling or whatever you want to call it, I know there's some people that define it as the collected wisdom information that you've received throughout your life. I think it's bigger than that. I think that is more connected to a soul level. And if you're spiritual like I am, I think it is a way to connect to the collective unconscious, where all information is available. And so how do we do that? And again, there's a PDF that you can download for free that has a ton of exercises to do this. But I think the number one thing to do to connect to your intuition is to start to listen to your body. Start to notice what you are experiencing in your body. And this is also something that we're not taught to do. This is also something that, we don't learn in school. Our parents mostly have not taught us to do that. But I think that it is the most important tool we have in our life, to listen to our body, to connect to that inner wisdom that knows what's good for us, that knows what is not good for us. And I think we've all experienced it on some level, right? Imagine that you have been in a place and you sense a person that you feel, oh, I don't want to talk to that person. There's something that doesn't feel right. Or the other way around. Ooh, that person looks very interesting. I would really like to talk to that person. Where does that information come from? Nobody's told you anything about that person. That's your intuition speaking, right? So I'm sure that if you start thinking about it, there are probably many situations where you have heard your intuition. You have heard that inner wisdom speaking to you. And so what do I mean by listening to the body, apart from that feeling, the gut feeling of like, oh, I want to talk to that person, or no, I don't. My invitation to you is to practice this. If you're not used to doing this, practice this. By what you can do is, for instance, if you're not used to feeling sensations in your body, and by sensations I mean warmth, cold, contracted, expanded, tingling, sharp. Maybe sometimes you can sense a color. It feels really dark, or it feels really bright somewhere. And one way of practicing this, if you check in and you feel like, I don't feel anything, that's okay. And before I continue, I also want to say that there are some people that aren't able to experience anything, any sensations. There are not very many, but if you're one of them, I just want to name that so that you don't shame yourself for never being able to experience this, right? But if you're not one of those people, one thing that you can start doing is, for instance, just hold your hand for a moment and start squeezing your hand. And before you do that, just feel, okay, so what does my hand feel right now? Is it cold or warm? Yeah, my hand's a little cold on the upper side of the hand and a little warmer on the inside. Okay, so then you start squeezing the hand. And squeeze it in any way that feels good to you. There's no right or wrong way to do this. And when you've done that for a while, then you just stop and then you sense, okay, so how does my hand feel right now? My hand feels a lot warmer on the inside and a little bit warmer on the back side as well. And it's like, I feel this like slight pulsation in my hand. And you might be asking, okay, so what's that good for? Knowing if your hand feels warm or cold, or if there's pulsations or something like that. Okay, so the way to use that in finding what to do when you want to heal, you want to transform your fatigue, is if you find, say you're looking for solutions, right? And you find a therapist that, like me, that says, I work with women and help them transform fatigue so they can feel alive again. The invitation is to check with your body. What happens in my body as I look at this person, or look at this person's website, or talk to this person, or hear about this person. You might get that feeling of like, oh, no, there's something that doesn't feel right. Then you know, okay, that's not the person for you, right? But if you feel like, oh, I want to hear more. I feel like I'm drawn, my body like leans forward. It wants, like it's showing me that I want something from this person. Maybe that's your body saying, yes, this is something that is good for me, right? And remember, if this isn't something that you're used to, be patient with yourself. Oh, there. I'm sorry. Someone just called me and I didn't know what to do with it. Okay. Right. So if you're not used to this, be patient with yourself. Be really compassionate and loving with yourself. Because just like I said, it's like learning a new language. And this language may feel like, say you're like me, Swedish speaking, and you're learning, say, Danish. Danish is quite similar to Swedish, so it might not be that hard. For some people, it might be like that they have a very easy connection with the experiences in their body. And for the other people, it might be like learning Chinese, a completely new, different alphabet, and words that make no sense in the beginning. I don't even know, like if I were to read it, I don't even know what the words start or finish, or the sentences start or finish, right? So be super, super patient, super, super compassionate with yourself. Okay, love. I hope this was useful. And if you have any questions arising around what I've just talked about today, just reach out to me. And we're going to close off like I usually do with 3 deep integrative breaths. So I invite you to either close your eyes or soften the gaze, whatever feels best for you. And this can also be an opportunity to practice that listening to your body. So breathing in and breathing out, and notice what you feel in your body as you take that deep breath out. And breathing in again. And breathing out with a sigh. Paying attention to what you're experiencing as you're taking these breaths. And the last time in and out with a sigh. Okay, beautiful. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you next week.